Hey there, hello. This is Extra Healthy-ish, the big sister podcast to the one called Just Healthy-ish. Both podcasts are from Body+Soul and are aimed to give you that little bit extra in your day. I am your host, Felicity Harley. Today we're talking the C word. We're talking carbs. You know, the thing I love about carbs, well, other than eating them, is I love the memes. Oh, there are so many great ones out there. I've got a few favourites. I love the one that says, well, I love you as much as wine and carbs. And there's also that vintage one that says, I'm on that diet where I cut out carbs and all sugar and happiness. Oh, I know we shouldn't joke about them. Perhaps that's added to our society's fear of them. We've demonised them, haven't we? So to get to the bottom of where the carbs are actually really as bad as everyone says, I asked clinical nutritionist and Weekend Sunrise regular Sarah Di Lorenzo to come on and explain. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish. Now, how do you stay extra healthy-ish in your life?
Hi, Felicity. Thank you so much for having me. So basically for me, exercise is paramount. I would exercise definitely a minimum of 4 times a week. And that's always something cardiovascular. Sleep is another really big one. Focusing on sleep. Sleep's king, 8 to 8 hours a night, healthy sleep. And when you've slept well, means you can pretty much take on anything. I work on mindset, healthy mindset, positive thinking. I'm definitely, it's a big part of, that mindfulness and just having a positive mindset about things and how you frame things in life. Hydration, massive, always hydrated, looking at 30 mils per kilo of body weight. Always, that's a big thing. I always make sure I do that. Minimizing alcohol, still got to have a good life and enjoy things. Minimize restaurants when I probably once or twice a week, maximum really, but it's that really healthy, nutrient-rich, balanced diet as well.
Oh, I bet you have a great one, a great balanced diet. But today, well, we're going to talk carbs. Now, for those who didn't catch our chat in Healthy-ish, what are carbs exactly? Can you just quickly recap for us?
So carbohydrates are a macronutrient, and they're part. We've got our macronutrients, but we've got vitamins and minerals are our micros, and our macros are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a really important part of a balanced diet because they provide us with energy. All carbohydrates become glucose in the body, and glucose is a source of energy for a healthy, balanced diet.
So we need them. We need them to function.
But then we need complex carbs, not simple carbs.
Yes, talk us through this, the different types of carbs.
So there's two types of carbohydrates, and I think this is why carbohydrates have had a bad rap, because people have just parked them into one group. But we have simple, which is the things like minute noodles. It would be white bread, white rice, white pasta, lots of lollies and junk, processed foods, chips, all those kind of things. So that's the simple cakes, biscuits, pastries.
I mean, all the delicious things.
all that's simple or refined. And then we've got complex carbohydrates, which is things like dairy, fruits, vegetables, brown rice. It's very good quality seeded breads, grains, things like, and legumes as well as beans. So that's what the complex carbohydrates are. They're the ones we need in a healthy and balanced diet.
Also delicious things.
Also delicious, yes, absolutely.
Now, why are carbs important for gut health? Why is it key?
Okay, so carbohydrates have the insoluble fibre, and they're basically, a carbohydrate is made of fibre. It's also got starches and the sugars in it. So it's the fibre that will help with our gut health. It feeds the good bacteria in our gut that can grow, and we want to colonise really good gut bacteria. It also helps with motility to avoid things like constipation, but it also helps us lower our risk of things like cardiovascular disease, because it helps with regulating our cholesterol, but as well, it will also help with hormone regulation too. Carbohydrates as well, if you do, they provide us with vitamins and minerals, which are really important. And so it's, as you can see, they will play that important role in gut health as well.
Yeah, it's funny because you don't really link carbs and gut, do you? You just think fibre and gut, but then fibre is in carbs. So there we go. There's the link.
Yes, and as well, they've got things like you can find in carbohydrates lots of vitamins and minerals, which people forget, in particular minerals, and they're all absorbed from our gut as well. So it's just they play a huge role, and there's something that definitely people really need to understand the difference between and understand why they're needed for a long, healthy diet. And people as well with fibre, there's a plethora of research that shows that people who have high fibre diets go on to live long and healthy lives.
And where have we gone wrong with carbs? I mean, why have they been demonised? Is it through certain diets? Is that the main, marketing, I suppose? Or what's your opinion?
Marketing is... My opinion why carbs have had such a bad name, and I think it's more in the recent years, is first of all, people have seen a lot of success in the weight loss industry with removing carbs from the diet. So it is very well known that if you remove carbohydrates from the diet, and this is extreme dieting, that you will go into a ketogenic state or a fat loss state. So that's why they've been demonized, because we are in an obesity epidemic and people are looking for weight loss solutions. People generally do know carbs are bad. What they're doing is they're putting all of carbohydrates into one category when they're not. It's the refined carbohydrates that you need to remove. The complex ones you include in a healthy weight loss program to a minimum. But when you're doing healthy weight loss maintenance, they have and play a really important role.
Yeah, what about if we're trying to lose weight? I know you've got a book coming out in Jan called the 10 by 10 diet. What should our carb intake look like in a day?
So for healthy weight loss, for when you're looking at, definitely I look at people around, because the nutritionist in me, there's no way in the world that I could have complex carbohydrates removed from people's diet. And when I say that, I mean things like fruit and vegetables. So I've devised a way in the 10-10 diet where I can still have people enjoying that program to still have some fruit. Fruit is delicious. It's hydrating. It's full of fiber. It's vitamins and minerals. And so I still have devised the way where people can still have some fruit every day, but it's understanding what fruits to include, things like berries that are high in fiber, low in carbohydrate and low in calorie, even things like strawberries as well, and all of the darker coloured vegetables. It's generally high fiber, lower calorie, lower carb content, that it still can play an important role. Things like chia seeds as well as legumes. So I include beans as well in the 10-10 diet. But I've kind of devised the diet with a lot of meticulous research and carefully piecing it all together, where I can still have people doing that program be healthy, but still be in a state of ketosis where they're fat burning. Now, that's not the ketogenic diet whatsoever. This has nothing to do with the ketogenic diet. I've devised a healthy way to put you in ketosis, which is sitting roughly around between 20 and 30 up to about 40 grams of carbohydrate in a day.
So how many?
And by that I mean from fruit and vegetables.
So how many would we have in a normal diet if we're having that?
So that's so much of that depends on age. So the average female would probably have around 200 grams a day.
Oh wow, so that's still low carb.
Yeah, it's still low carb, and the average male would have around 350. Now, that's on a general diet of around 2,000 calories a day. So that's general. Lactation would be different. Teenage boys are different. But just to give you an idea, something like 1 cup of rice would give you about 45 grams of carbohydrate. That's brown rice. And then you look at something like a carrot. Well, a carrot will give you around 11 grams of carbs. And so a cup of berries could give you 21 grams of carbs. So you can see how I can get people to have some carrot, and I can get them to I can sort of bring the portions down like a cup of chia seeds would be around 40 grams, but I can get you to have 1/4 of a cup of chia seeds and maybe 1/2 a cup of berries. And so I can bring things in where we're still sitting at a low carb, but we're still healthy along the way and still in fat loss. So serving sizes are all very different, and it depends on height, and there's so many variables in place. Of course. But that's just to give you a bit of an understanding of carbs.
We'll be back after this. And I think, as we talked about this briefly in Healthy, serving size is something that probably we should keep in mind when it comes to consuming carbs, right? Because, and especially complex carbs, because you could be having loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of berries, which probably aren't that great for you, but they are good for you.
So talking serving sizes. So, and I talk to my patients about this all the time. So to give you an idea of a serving size of a carbohydrate is actually around 15 grams, but everything is in moderation. Like if you're going to have, and just to touch on what you said about berries, if you had, 10 oranges a day, there's too much sugar there. Like there's always too much of anything is a bad thing. But I always say half a cup, a serving size, and that's including things like oats as well. I forgot to mention oats. A serving size is half a cup cooked. So when I have and potato and sweet potato are other ones that people remove potatoes because they think they're bad for weight loss. But a serving size of a potato is actually half of a medium-sized potato. But that comes to how many servings a day can you have. So some people might have 5 to 7 servings a day. It just depends again on age, or they might have 2 to 3 servings a day. So that's just understanding it's half a cup cooked. So it would be quarter raw of things like rice and chia, which you could expand by just soaking it, as well as a good quality pasta made maybe from a legume, a slice of bread, good quality slice of sourdough. Slice of sourdough, really good quality one, will give you around 50 grams of carbohydrates. So
yeah, I feel like that's a food that you wouldn't consider would be good for you, but I keep reading that it's amazing for you.
Well, I like sourdough because it's really low in gluten. So that's the reason. It's had a long time to have the yeast it usually will rise over a day, and so the more yeast, the less gluten, the better it is for your health in general. So I love sourdough, good quality sourdough, for healthy weight maintenance and in moderation, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm a bit obsessed with the blue zones. You know about the blue zones, so I've got to. Yeah. So as listeners would know, I talk about blue zones a lot. But if you look at these centenarians, and they're basically blue zones are places where people live the longest. Many of them eat a lot of carbs, and I suppose they're proof that, carb high diets are healthy. How did they make it work?
I'm with you there. I'm obsessed with the blue zones. I know all about them. I've studied the blue zones. So I presented on Sunrise a whole segment about the blue zones. So blue zones are basically, this is really interesting, and this is what I teach people in weight loss maintenance. So as we know, they're the pockets in the world, like we've got in California, you've got the people from Loma Linda, and then there's the people in Japan. So Japan have 65% of their diet is sweet potato. Loma Linda would be oats. The people in the Nicoya Peninsula. Sardinia, it's a place called Ogliastra in Sardinia. So they eat a lot of bread. So they have a lot of their own homemade bread. Costa Rica, that's in the Nicoya Peninsula. They have a lot of corn, so they do corn, and they do a lot of beans.
Yes,
beans as well. So what these people do, which is really interesting, and I'm going to tell you why they've got low disease. So, and they've got all the health, not only the lifespan, but the health span to match it. And that's because they do all of their eating in the first part of the day. So they only really eat 2 meals a day. So they will always, lunch is primary, but the people in Loma Linda would eat at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Most of the ones in the Mediterranean, so in Icaria in Greece and Ogliastra in Sardinia, they do a lot of the lunch. They sort of do a late lunch, and they would do a breakfast. So they all have breakfast and they all have lunch. Now, the interesting thing is, first of all, they're all eating produce, which is and lots of beans and legumes and stuff, which is generally they're farmed themselves. So there's no preservatives or additives. It's all homemade stuff for starters. So there's none of that we see in the Western world. Second of all, when we take carbohydrates into our body, they become glucose. In the start of the day, with the circadian rhythms, when the sun rises, that will trigger our circadian rhythms. That's how our body responds to light and dark. That will also stimulate our digestion and our metabolism. So when we start digesting and metabolizing in the earlier part of the day, our cells, which have receptor sites, are open to receive insulin. So insulin is a hormone that transports glucose from our blood to our cell for energy. Now, all carbs or everything that these people in the blue zones enjoy in abundance, they are eating in the first part of the day. So what happens is the body is metabolizing them because the receptor sites of that cell of the cells are open. Now, as our bodies go throughout the day, and the sun goes down, and we get ready for our big hibernation throughout the night, the receptor sites we become insulin resistant at night. So as Westerners, we all eat big meals at night, and we're not receiving insulin the way we do in the earlier part of the day. But the people in the blue zones, they don't have dinner. None of them are dinner people. They go down, they do their wind up at about 4 p.m. People in the Nicoya Peninsula are the only ones that will really have a little supper at later in the night. So what they're doing is everything they're eating, they're metabolizing and processing a minimum of 50% of that because our body receives insulin and processes the glucose as a form of energy. But later on in the day, they're not doing that. We don't do that. And so as Westerners or people who do the 16-8 or different things like that, they fast all day. Anyone can fast all to the day, and then they overeat at night. They're storing all that at night. And the other thing is because, so that's generally why they've got it right. They've completely got it right in the blue zones.
And you know what? They've also got right is
the blues.
They don't have the dinner rush. They don't have that if you've got kids, they don't have that mad, quick, it's 5 o'clock, quick, I'm hungry.
They also walk everywhere too. They walk every day. They don't believe in vigorous exercise. They believe in spirituality. They believe in community. There's a lot of the way that they live in these pockets of the world. So much of it is about mindfulness, interaction, support, family, love, eating with love, farming, all that kind of stuff. So yes, but from a dietary perspective, their guts are all working really well. They've got lots of fibre in there, and that fibre is incredibly aligned with long-term health and wellness.
Sarah,
so I told you I could go on about
I think maybe we need to take that on another podcast. We can
talk about
the blue zones. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thank you so much for having me. I've just really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope that inspired you to go and fill your diet with lots of beautiful fresh fruit and veggies. We want those good carbs, don't we? Not the bad ones. Oh, we can have those every so often though. Sarah's new book, it's coming out in Jan. It's called The 10-10 Diet. If you want more info about that, make sure you check the episode notes. I'll leave all the links about her book and about her in those. If you want more from us, make sure you download another episode of Extra Healthy-ish or Healthy-ish. We publish Extra Healthy-ish every morning, Monday to Thursday, and Healthy-ish every morning, Monday to Friday. Or jump onto bodyandsoul.com.au, follow us on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll have lots of Body and Soul love. Thanks again for listening, and if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could jump on and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.